awesome score, Jack. There are just so many fun things about this. I really love how you have the more harmonic roll here for your winds, with a nice chorale of strings down here, especially the firsts, kind of dominating the proceedings, and it just has a real wonderful sound there. I think that you could have had a more definite role, more dedicated role to that, to having this line doubled by a wind instrument, or just a little bit more firmly at the octave in the first two bars. But I still think that the approach that you used here was strong enough. I think if the winds are just purely there, to kind of cushion the first violin melody right in here in these first two bars, you really don't need to have second flute doubling first oboe. It's just kind of like a waste. I think it's better to try to have just a single wind player on each voice, right? I think this is just the most effective way. And of course, like the second flute really won't contribute a whole lot, even at piano. In the face of the just much more pungent oboe, even at the same dynamic, even at soft, a soft dynamic. I mean, in chamber playing, of course, the flute and the oboe can combine very skillfully, but it's because they are listening to each other and there's nobody else, right? There's no strings to play against and to play off of and to follow, right? Especially like first violin to follow. I think that you could probably also have maybe worked out a little bit better of a scheme for some of the bowing in here, right? So, like here, you're going down, up, and then possibly there would be two ups here. By the concertmaster might mark two ups here. But I mean, if they're going to do that anyways, maybe you're better off just putting a slur there. Da 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 da. Man, this could all be one slur. Da da. Right? Your slurs are sort of doing different things in different parts, right? And of course, like you have this nice long slur because you've got your oboes and their winds. But like, why didn't we get a long slur here, then, or here in these other wind parts? So it's just a little, mix and match there. I think that you could have just like bowed to the beat. You know what I mean? Like a slur there, a slur there, a slur there, a slur there, or no, excuse me, just ending there. Yeah. I mean, this is very cool. Just getting the resonance of the first violin below it, and so on. I mean, has a beautiful sound, and then of course this is all very cool. I almost think that the timpani sort of takes away from it. It's like completely unnecessary. But if you are really in love with that sound, I would actually put it down an octave, right? Just where it has a nice, big, firm, beautiful stroke that blends in with the cellos and the double basses a lot better. And of course, like you can mark half notes all you like, but the best that you're really going to get here is just a quarter note and the resonance of the whole sustaining it, right? So better to just mark quarter notes here until you get to the roll. And now something you probably noticed about the roll is that you can actually hear the individual notes, right? It's not a smooth roll. In the mock-up, it goes da 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 da, and that's because you are at 42 beats per measure, or excuse me, 42 beats per minute. Excuse me. 42 beats per measure, and you're in Sibelius in the playback. You've got it set to 3 slashes, right? So once you get down to like below, I would say below 72 or 60, then you should really just give yourself an extra one of these slashes, all right, and then you get a much smoother roll. Now here, you let go, right? So here you've got the this low note lasting an entire full beat, but then you have all of this harmony letting go. Why? Da 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 dum. You want just this and the low F, and you don't want any of this stuff? I mean, are you falling into a trap there? Like, just because below the melody, da 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 dum, Beethoven scored this F here, and then he kind of didn't add anything after it, right? He just, but since he's going to be holding things down just with finger sustain while other things are playing. If you actually listen to the piano part, these harmonic elements, like even this A, is sort of lasting through, right? So you just have this beautiful warm F triad when it's all done. The F continuing to hold through the fermata, and then with some players they hold on to this A, and then the C, and then you get this big beautiful F triad. So why couldn't that happen throughout the entire thing, right? I like the crescendo here. I think if you're going to do that, then you also could easily like do a ritardando or even a fermata right here in the middle of the bar, like I did, right? Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Do you see what I'm saying? It's just even if you don't put it in there, the conductor will, right? So if the conductor's going to do it, you might as well give them permission, right? All right. So, but our concern is, does this intro set the mood effectively? Yes, it does. Okay, for what you intend to do afterwards, it sounds fine, right? So, so do you really want this to be so? I mean, I've been using the word choppy, and it's not always like a negative word. But you have avoided dropping the slurring in the piano part onto the orchestra part, which is great. That doesn't mean you can't have any slurs, right? You could easily go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? So you could just give fuller bows, just so you have a smoother sound. I mean, my criteria, if I'm being incredibly strict about it and say melody starting with elegance, I mean, sort of, but I think that with slurring with longer bow strokes, you would get a more elegant sound. And you could even put in some portato here, like maybe this could be slurred, maybe this could be just put by portato I mean, hang on, and then just put a slur on it, right? You could have this kind of pulsing sound. So yeah, and then if you do that, then this works a whole lot better. This kind of stuff, right? It just fits in a lot better. I think the problem is if this is all just individual bow strokes, then this doesn't really match up, right? It the choppiness against the smoothness, right? It just feels like it's working at odds. Each part is working at odds with the other. Now, there's absolutely no need for you to go a duet here with the bassoons, right? It's like to have two players, because that'll have a kind of a nice sort of rough, zesty sound, whereas you'll have this beautiful, elegant single second clarinet player, right? And I see how you're saving up your first clarinet player to go yibba dibba dub, just doing this stuff in here. So that's perfectly legitimate what you're doing there. So yeah, just have your first bassoonist or second bassoonist play this, all right? And then you have a little pop here with the contrabassoon. That's all perfectly fine. You could have a situation where this pop is done by the first, right? Your first bassoonist goes boink. You might not even need the contrabassoon up to this point. You could go bonk with your first, and then do dee doo dee doo dee doo with your second bassoonist, right? So just first, second, and so on. First, second, and then the first goes da 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 doo, right? And then you don't need this. You could have a duet here on this staccato just with your second bassoonist. In fact, I don't really see the need for a contrabassoon at all here. I mean, you could Yeah. Maybe some pitches in here. Okay, all right. So don't let me get ahead of myself. So I would say, making some alterations here, I would say that the melody would start with elegance. And then this flow here would be natural, right? I can't say that it's a natural flow because it doesn't really match the feeling of the string part in here. Is there a natural transition to octaves? There is. You add a lot of harmony right in, like you do this all in thirds here with a melody and so on. It's a further justification to have more slurring in these bars, just because it just works a lot smoother. Expanding without clogging up. Yeah, I mean it gets really dense in here with the harmonization that you've added there, but almost, but not quite. So I would pass you on that if this were a test, right? It isn't, but that would be my estimation. So it gets a little dense in here, but it's not too bad. Okay, so now let's go on to all of this leggermente, and I love this. I just love the trading off of these different registers and instruments and and places, like jumping this the octave and so on. It just really worked great. And then having a little pizzicato note. I think if you have the pizzicato here, you don't even need the contrabassoon or any doubling at all on this. It could just all be first bassoon plus the double bass pizzicato here. Now here, like once again, I'm not sold on like the down up down up down up down up down up, the sort of I feel like you could go up down up down up down. Do you see what I mean? And then here, of course, if you're going to go down up down with your bowing, and you're going to have these horn pitches, ba ba ba, and the C basso horns going blonk blonk blonk, and boom 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 with your timpani and so on, then this slur in here just makes absolutely no sense, right? You need to match the articulation all around, right? So these are individual. Like you probably don't need tenuto, because the tenuto is just like a block articulation, right? It stops and starts the same dynamic. It doesn't have that really beautiful shape to it, right? So, yeah, like if you have this this crescendo in here. So here you've marked that mezzo forte is the middle of the crescendo. So everybody should know that, right? Because the way things are set up, piano dolce, crescendo and coming back, crescendo and coming back, and everybody's going to be looking at the violas. And the violas do not need the attention. They don't need to be embarrassed. It's like, why the hell are you guys playing mezzo forte? We're just going a little bit above piano here, right? So really, if you intend everybody to get to mezzo forte here, then everybody needs the marking. So don't embarrass these poor exposed violists. All right, so I would just say, yeah, you need some slurs here. Slur, slur. So like, because here you have this slur here in this scoring, but this isn't slurred. All right, so once again, I think that the articulation, the smoothness needs to match in all parts. Right, and I think that this is the telling. This is really completely telling you like why or what you're missing right in here, right? So you really kind of want that sense of the middle of the sound picture right in here to build and smoothly go from one to the next. So if that's happening here, just like here, then the melody, the melodic content needs to be more smooth, right? All right. Yeah, and once again, I'm just kind of not seeing the need for contrabassoon here. I think that this could be second bassoon below, first above, and so on. And then you could just do these like kind of horn harmonies right here. You've got the same parts right here, right? So like that could just definitely be just two bassoons, right? So I still don't see the need for a contra in here. All right. Yeah, and then this is all really great in here. Yeah, nice natural horn scoring and timpani. Yeah, and then like you do the reversal here. It's really nice. Yeah, and I mean, like with this crescendo in the middle pulling out by the middle, by the sort of end of the third beat. By the way, these dynamics need to match in both parts. So anyway, let's say that you do that, then we don't have to worry about the whole question of maintaining the strength, right? As far as the emphatic color of line, that's all taken care of. Harmonic density, setting up the next part, the texture and so on. I think that the way that you pull out of this and everything, that's all great. So you don't really need to worry about that, maintaining that strength, because you have a different dynamic curve in here. And this is all really lovely right in here. This, bum, bum, blum, 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 bum, bum. It's nice. Yeah, so no big issues that I can really see in there. Yeah, once again, just a question of whether or not you just really need the so you want to score out the full chord here, but there's really no need to do that. In fact, you can leave out, in order to get the pitches that you need to make this a big, beautiful, balanced woodwind chord, you can leave out a lot of pitches in those full chords, right? A lot of things that has enough resonance in one octave as opposed to the other one, so you just leave the one out. You leave the octave out that doesn't have the appropriate resonance for the overtones above the chord, right? So it just takes an ear of listening to that. All right, now going on to section B. This is nice. I like this sort of stacked harmony right in here. Okay, so here's where you're really getting into trouble, Jack. And did you watch my Pitfalls video? Because it doesn't really seem like. So in all fairness, I did say don't have separated kinds of things for more than a couple of bars, but I think that that would be at the end of something, right? So after the players have been playing in their groove, for a whole passage, and they get to the end and they can sort of split up a little bit because they know where their little beats are sitting, right? And everybody is just kind of going along like a clock. But to start that way is to court disaster. It would be better for you to have both of these parts starting on the beat, right? So each one is going da, 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 right? And then you can have you can have the first going da 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 da. Then you can have the seconds going da 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 da, right? And then you put them together, it's da 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 da, right? So this can easily be rewritten. Just put the C sharps here on the first beat, right? And then here, I would say, put this A here, or don't take it away, but add the A here. Yeah, and actually you might want to flip the parts, right? So that the seconds are the ones going da 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 da, and the firsts are going da 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 da, because it's just because it's more on the firsts are more capable of kind of snagging that middle beat. And then here, this is just completely getting into trouble. See, it would be better for you to go da-dee-dum, 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 da-dee-dum with this rather than da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. Because they have to anticipate exactly where this is and come in on E and A, right? Rest, E and A, rest, E and A, rest, E and A. And that's that just really, it's just maddening, okay? So it needs to be the other way around. You need to start on the beat. So da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. And then just this can go bum ba bum ba 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 bee ba boo ba, right? And then this doesn't need to play. You don't need this little guy at the end, right? Yeah. So it just needs a massive rewrite. Now this in here is not so bad. Dun da dun da dun da dun da. I said this is really great. This is what should have happened before, right? Patterns like this. Alrighty, so let's assume that this was all written in a way that favored the players, right, and made it much more possible for them to play. So that just takes us to the evaluation criteria. Did you introduce a fresh new color? Well, not really, but bringing out the bringing out that nice strong color of the first violins, almost completely unaccompanied for a couple of beats. I think that works really good. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And then this, you almost don't need the flutes in there at all, really. Yeah, so like the other problem that you've got in here, that this is so scattershot. Like this is actually the main. This line is a line, and it is a line that is melodic. Especially when you get here. See, by making this so chopped to bits here, that like who can tell what is the melody anymore, right? Because it's so individually cut into pieces, right? So by having the players going da 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 da, you just really feel with the other person going da 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 da, putting them all together da 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 da, right? Then you really get more of the sense of the melody out of it, which you underline here, right? So like you have a big gap here that sort of plays against the whatever your mock-up may be telling you, this is going to just be very, very weak. Okay, but this is really cool. The clarinets and violas and the first bassoon and unison cellos and so on. That's all nice and strong. And this the sort of ba 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 ba. Now, go check out my my version of this, right? And I think you'll be seeing that you're missing out on an opportunity to have like a, stopped, open, stopped, open, stopped, open, right? It's just built right into a natural horn. And in fact, I took the precaution of actually marking that it would be stopped on one pitch and then open on the next one, just in case it was played on valve horns, right? So that like I would still get that sort of snarly sound on the accent. So it's just much stronger on C basso horns than it or on F horn than it would ever be. So this should really say, right? And in here I would even see, this looks too much like contrabass. So I would say yeah, I would do that, right? C basso horn, because it just just really makes it clear. All right. Yeah, so this is going to be a lot of weight. A duet with all these horns. Yeah, I don't think you need that necessarily. Right. You are really playing by the rules here, and just assigning open pitches, except for this B natural here. So I mean that all works for me. But it's just a little too weighty. Like, and here you got this timpani sort of pushing at these Fs. Yeah. I mean, I like the feeling of conflict, on the downbeat and the half beat or half measure. Like, I like that. It's really, really nice. And this is so cool. Like the way the piccolo just pops out. That just is so cool. Yeah. And then just kind of building up speed here. Yeah, and this was really a really lovely way to bring things to a conclusion. Yeah, so let me move this keypad out of the way. Yeah, and so like you're ticking a lot of boxes here, right? Complementary timbre here. Check. Right? Thinking ahead to widening the gap, check. Emphasis on alternating middle note, check. Right. Gap widening further, spreading the harmony, right? And then like not leaving a hole here in the middle. So you ticked all these boxes really, really nicely. But once again, I just feel that the lower F is the stronger note and is just much more solid, right? And is a nicer combination. There's a sort of a there's a kind of a phenomenon that occurs when you have timpani playing octaves with the double basses and no other, like, there's kind of like no other close note. Like, say, the timpani, the cellos aren't playing, they aren't doing any doubling of the timpani or anything like that, and everything is kind of in a higher position like this, then the timpani may end up just kind of sounding really weak. It's because, like, the timpani, like, despite the fact that they have a lot of punch and everything else, like, if they're soft like this and they are in this octave position, they might just really, they get absorbed by the other elements around them, unless you really turn them up to, like, mezzo forte, forte, and so on. So in right here, I just feel like once again, things should be an octave lower. And same thing here with this roll. We're just so much stronger. This is kind of strange. Like, you've got no crescendo on your timpani here, right? Shouldn't everybody be pushing towards a fortissimo or at least a forte in your brass and percussion? So maybe you just left that out. But I would say, like, you might want to start at mezzo forte at the very least here. Push towards a forte, and then everybody ends together. I'm not sold on this, by the way. A forte crescendo to fortissimo in your winds. Here we have piano crescendo to forte here, and then a further crescendo. So this ends up being forte. This ends up being almost fortissimo. And this ends up being fortissimo there. This is just all really jumbled in terms, like, just try to have more uniform dynamics, right? So just think, like, take it from the strings. The strings are going to define this, right? So piano, crescendo to forte here. That means if you're starting there in another instrument, it should be mezzo forte, crescendo to forte with everybody, and then a further crescendo to fortissimo by the end, right? So that would be one way of handling it. Or you could do everybody crescendo to fortissimo here by this bar, then you don't need any further crescendo, right? In which case this would be a forte back here, right? Anyway, and I would definitely mark this mezzo forte entrance here with all these parts, push to a forte. Anyways, but look, I mean, just one last little thing, and that is, like, could this possibly have been slurred? Or maybe some of these other things. I mean, I can see the value of having everything separated. You get I think that works really great. But I mean, just might have a much more beautiful, fluid sound, right? And this is very cool. I love these trills in here. I think that you could. I think that somehow this isn't quite enough. So I'm not sure. You want a trill on the A and then a trill on the G? That's just kind of weird. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, this needs a little work too. Okay, but other than that, just really a fun piece of scoring, Jack, and had a lot of strengths to it, and yeah, just a few little things need to be cleaned up and clarified, and but other than that, like, just really, just so glad to get another entry from you, and especially for this piece, which seems to play to your strengths. So, like, looking ahead to the next orchestration challenge, is going to have a completely different character, different period, different everything. And I'm sure that will also inspire you to, to this level and beyond. All right. So thank you so much, Jack. So everybody else who is watching along with me, you guys know what to do, right? So leave some comments below for Jack, like, tell him what you thought about this piece, please, constructive. Any things to change, any perspectives if you are a player on one of these instruments, or a conductor, or some other kind of thing. Anything that I missed or didn't clarify, or got wrong. Please comment below, and Jack, why don't you go comment on some of the other semi-brev evaluations that I've looked at recently, and then the ones to come over the next few days. All right, that just makes everything stronger. So thanks very much, you guys. This is so cool. I'm just enjoying the hell out of this, even though I am doing like 5 things at once, 2 projects. Oh man, and like one of them, the deadline is like the day I leave for the USA, which is today, probably, by the order of release of these videos. So anyway, wish me luck. No, actually, I'm really enjoying myself, especially with these evaluations. So I'll see everybody really soon.